everyone! In today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to crochet these gorgeous Blue Thunder socks by Drops Design. This tutorial is not sponsored by or affiliated with Drops Design. For more information, please check out the description box below in the drop down. Before we get started, I will show you a quick visual of the sizing of my finished sock. In this tutorial, I will be doing the size 7.5 to 9, and that has a foot length of about 9.5 inches. My finished socks came out 9.5 inches long from toe to heel, and from base of heel to top of the leg part, it is 8.5 inches. The width of the upper foot is 4 3/4. Toe width is 3 3/4. For materials, I am using 399 yards or 100 grams of fingering weight yarn. I am also using a B 2.25mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a tape measure, 2 stitch markers, and a yarn needle for weaving in ends. To begin, create a magic ring. For my magic ring, I like to just create a large open knot. From here, single crochet 7 into your ring. Chain 1, and to single crochet, insert your hook, grab your yarn and pull up a loop. I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. Place 6 more single crochet into your ring, and then I will meet back up and we can close the ring. Here I have 7 single crochet into my ring, and I'm going to take my hook out and close the ring. One way to close the ring is just to pull this yarn and then it will close the ring. Another way, I like to go ahead and knot it closed. So I take the yarn into the front, then I put the tail to the back, grab the tail through the center, pull it out, and then grab this front loop and pull it until the ring is closed, and then pull the tail to knot it. From here, slip stitch to your first stitch to finish round 1. Insert your hook, grab your yarn and pull it through, and then through the loop on your hook. For round 2, you're going to want to grab 2 stitch markers. To begin this round, you're going to chain 1. From here on out, this chain 1 is going to count as your first single crochet. For this round, we're going to place 2 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. At the end of this round, we will have 14 single crochet. So I'm going to go ahead and single crochet into that same stitch that I slip stitched into. And because of the chain 1, I now have 2 stitches into that first stitch. So here I'm just going to place my stitch marker into that chain 1 and then move along with 2 single crochet into each stitch. Once I get to the end of this round, I will meet back up and we can continue. Once we get to the end of round 2, we're going to place our second stitch marker. The second stitch marker is going to go into our 8th stitch. So now we have 7 stitches and 7 stitches. To complete round 2, I'm just going to slip stitch to my first stitch. Round 3, chain 1, and this counts as our first single crochet. Place your stitch marker. Now round 3 is going to be a repeat round, so I'm going to explain it a little bit before we start. We are going to be increasing every single round, and we're going to be increasing on each side of these 2 stitch markers. So the chain 1 counts as our first single crochet there, and then into our next stitch we're going to place 2 single crochets, then single crochet into each stitch. Once you get to the stitch right before the stitch marker, you're going to place 2 single crochet, then single crochet into the stitch with the stitch marker, replace your stitch marker, and then into the next stitch place 2 single crochet into each stitch until you get to the stitch right before your first stitch marker here. Place 2 stitches into the same stitch and then slip stitch to join. This round 3 is going to be repeated 10 times total until you have 54 stitches. Now I will show you what that looks like. Continue in this fashion 9 more times and I will meet back up when I am finished. So here's what my work looks like once I have 54 stitches total. And a little tip for this pattern is when you do that first chain, which counts as your first single crochet, make it nice and loose, and then it's easy to place your stitch marker. Next, remove both of your stitch markers. Holding your work like this, you're going to count 23 stitches behind your slip stitch. So 23 stitches, and then we're going to place a stitch marker. Here I have placed my stitch marker, and we're ready to move on to the next step. From here, chain 3. This chain 3 is going to count as our first stitch. Now we're going to begin a repeat. Skip 2 stitches, and now we're going to double crochet 2, chain 2, double crochet 2 into this next stitch. 2 double crochet, yarn over, holding that yarn on your hook with your first finger. Insert your hook into the stitch, grab your yarn and pull up a loop. I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the second 2 loops. Double crochet again into that same stitch. Chain 2, and place 2 more double crochet into that same stitch. So there we've created a large V-stitch. Skip 2 stitches and double crochet into your next stitch. And then we're going to repeat this all the way across until we get to this other stitch marker. So again, your repeat is going to be skip 2 stitches, double crochet 2, chain 2, double crochet 2 into the same stitch, skip 2 stitches, double crochet 1 into the next stitch, then repeat. So this is how my work looks after I've repeated all the way across, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 V-stitches, and I started with that chain 3 at the beginning, and I ended with a double crochet there. And there is a double crochet in between each one of my V-stitches. From here you can remove this stitch marker here, so we have 23 remaining stitches, and you're just going to place a double crochet into each one of those. Slip stitch to join, and then I will meet back up. So here I have completed my 23 double crochet, and then slip stitch to the top of that chain 3. For From here, we're going to begin a round that is going to be a repeat round. Chain 3 to begin. This chain 3 counts as our first stitch. From here, we're going to be placing one of these large V-stitches into each one of these chain 2 spaces from our previous large V-stitches. So we're going to have a V-stitch here, then you're going to skip these double crochet from this previous V-stitch and double crochet into this single double crochet. And we're going to repeat that all the way across, and then once we get to this bottom foot part, we're just going to do our double crochet and then slip stitch to join. I will show you how this looks. So we're just going to repeat this all the way across the top of the foot. Then again, once we get to the bottom of the foot here, we're just going to double crochet into each stitch and then slip stitch to join. Once I get to the end of this round, I will meet back up and show you how it's looking. Here at the end of the round, I slip stitch to my chain 3. This is how my work looks. From here, we're going to repeat this round that we just completed until our work measures 3.5 inches from the toe. Here I have gotten the toe of the sock to about 3.5 inches, and as you see, it can be a little bit off depending on how you measure it or about how it's stretched. I have 6 large V-stitches running up the toe. For the next 12 rows, we're going to be increasing. We're going to be increasing on each side of this lacy part of the foot here. So right over here on this side is going to be our first increase, and we have a V-stitch, a double crochet, and a double crochet. Into this second double crochet right here is where we're going to place 2 double crochets into the same stitch. Then 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way across, and then right here we have our chain 3, which counts as our double crochet there. And then our last double crochet before we slip stitch right here. Into this last double crochet before we slip stitch is where we're going to place 2 double crochet into the same stitch. So an increase right there and an increase right here. And if you like, you can use stitch markers for those 2 stitches, but I will just be increasing. I will show you what my first row looks like, and you're going to do again 12 rows of increase total, and then I will show you also how it looks so you can count your rows. So from here, you're just going to repeat that row that we just did until we have 12 rows total. And what I like to do is you just count your V's here where the increase is. So the increase makes that little V where there's 2 double crochet into the same stitch. So I just count 1 right there, and you should have 12 by the time we're done. And after After you have done your 12 rows of increase, you should have 47 stitches running across here, and I'm going to show you what we're going to be counting. So you're not going to be counting this double crochet here, because that's part of these V stitches right here, and you're also not going to be counting our chain 3 in that count. So you're going to count your increase, and then all the way across, and then count your last increase. And you should have, again, 47 stitches after those 12 rounds. And then I will meet back up to move on to the next step. Here is my work after 12 increased rounds. At this point, the pattern says your sock should measure 6 3/4 inches from toe to top. Both of my socks at this point do not measure that. They measure 7 1/2 from toe to top. This does not concern me at all. It fits my foot perfectly, and the extra 3/4 of an inch doesn't make any difference to me. Now chain 35. After chaining 35, you're going to skip all of this lacy top of the foot here, and also this double crochet, this single double crochet right here. And into this increase right here, you're going to single crochet into that first double crochet right there. So not this one, but the next one. And then you're going to single crochet into your next 46 stitches. So now I have 47 single crochet running across the bottom of the foot. And there is our chain of 35 here. So what we're going to do is single crochet 35 into that chain now. 47 plus 35 equals 82 stitches total. So once we've placed all of the single crochet into this chain, we should have 82 single crochet total. Now, once we have our 82 single crochet, we're going to grab 2 stitch markers, and into the foot part right here, we're going to place a stitch marker on each side. So one is going to go right here, and we're going to count 3 stitches into the foot, and into the third stitch, we're going to place a stitch marker. So 1, 2, 3. So into that third stitch there. And then we're going to count 41 stitches across here, and into our third stitch from this corner should be our 42nd stitch, if you're going to count this way. So if we count all the way across here and put it into the 42nd stitch, we should have 41 stitches in between our stitch markers. So that is the goal. Then from here, we're going to be working in the round, and we're going to be decreasing on each side of these stitch markers. So 1 single crochet decrease on this side, 1 single crochet decrease on this side, and again, 1 over here and 1 over here. Into all of these other stitches, we're just going to place 1 single crochet. So remember, there's no slip stitching. We're going to be working in the round. So there's our 82nd stitch, single crochet here. And I'm going to single crochet decrease these next 2 stitches. To single crochet decrease, you're going to insert your hook into the first stitch, grab your yarn and pull up a loop. I have 2 loops on my hook. Insert your hook into the second stitch, grab your yarn and pull up a loop. I now have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So now we've turned 2 stitches into 1 stitch. Single crochet into the stitch where your stitch marker is, and replace your stitch marker. Single crochet decrease your next 2 stitches. Again, insert your hook, grab your yarn and pull up a loop. I have 2 loops on my hook. Insert your hook into the next stitch, grab your yarn and pull up a loop. I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And then single crochet into each stitch all the way across to your next stitch marker. And once we have these 2 stitches before the stitch marker, we're going to decrease and then decrease the 2 stitches after the stitch marker. Remember to replace your stitch marker. Then single crochet into each one of these stitches on this loop here. Here I am back over here at the other stitch marker, and I will just show you that decrease again. So here I am back around to the first stitch marker again. And of course we're going to be working in the round, so your decreases will be more and more onto this band as you go from this side. So we're going to be decreasing on each side of the stitch marker. Make sure to be replacing your stitch marker into that same stitch every time. And then again, decreasing on each side of this stitch marker, and we're going to be working around. By the time we are done with 18 rounds, we will be decreasing 4 stitches on each round, and at the end, once we get to 10 stitches total, we can then close up the heel. And I can show you how that looks on my other sock here. So as you see, decreases on each side. It creates this beautiful pattern and makes a point to that heel. And then once we have 10 stitches on this purple sock, I will come back and I will show you how we're going to finish off the heel. So here I have 10 stitches remaining, and now what I'm going to do is remove my stitch markers and cut a long tail. After doing that, I'm going to slip stitch into my next stitch and then grab the tail and pull it through the last loop on my hook. From here, I'm going to go inside of my sock like this, take the tail and pull that through here. And then with a yarn needle, I'm just going to sew up this hole and weave in the ends. After completing the heel, we're going to join our yarn back over into this chain up 3 space right here, right before our V stitches. So for me, I like to add a little slip knot into my yarn. Then I'm going to insert my hook into the top of that previous chain 3 right there and grab that loop, pull it through, and then chain up 3 for my first double crochet. From here, we're just going to do our V stitches and then double crochets all the way across. Once we get back over here again, I will meet back up. So here I am at the other side of the lacy front of the sock, and I have just completed one of the last large V stitches, and I'm going to double crochet into this last double crochet right here. Next, what we're going to do is continue with this lacy work, and we're going to go around the back of the heel. So this part can be a little bit confusing and hard to see, but this stitch right here is part of this here, and then this next space is like the side of one of the double crochets. So we're going to skip over all that and go right into the backs of this 35 chain right here. So counting 1, 2 right here, into this third chain right here, I'm going to place a large V stitch. Then we're going to skip 2 chains and double crochet into the next chain. Then we're just going to repeat this all the way around. So skip 2 chains and V stitch. Then skip 2 chains and double crochet. Once we get all the way around the back of the heel and over here, I will meet back up and show you how my work is looking. So here I've gone all the way around the back of the heel, and I ended with a large V-stitch, and then you're just going to slip stitch to the top of your chain 3 here at the beginning. From here we're just going to repeat all of this lace and do the leg of the sock. So you're going to chain 3 to begin your next row, and into each of your previous V-stitches you're going to place a V-stitch and then a double crochet in all of your double crochets. Once the leg measures 5.5 inches tall, you're going to do a little finishing edge. And when you measure that 5.5 inches, your one or base of your tape measure should be right here at the base of these V-stitches right here. So you're going to go 5.5 inches up, and then once we get to there, I will meet back up and we will do the last step. Here I have worked 5.5 inches of the leg portion of the sock. From here, the finishing row is just going to be chain 3 and more of these large V-stitches, except that each V-stitch, instead of doing just 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, we're going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. And then we're actually going to be skipping over these double crochets here. So just these super big V-stitches into each one of these previous V-stitches. And then we're just going to continue all the way around and then slip stitch to join to the top of this chain 3, weave in all your ends, and your sock will be finished. And here's that edging all finished. I hope you enjoy making these beautiful lacy socks. Thank you so much for watching, commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing. Have a lovely crochet day, and I hope to see you again in my next tutorial. Bye!